The narrative around this draft is awesome. I'm loving every single second of it. It's the deepest draft in years. It is going to be jam-packed with talent. There are only 21 picks in the top 78 that are owned by the club that owned them at the end of last year. That is how many transactions, permutations, machinations have gone into this draft class. There is talent everywhere, so they tell me. So it's gonna be a super draft, right? Or is it? Now, is me saying this meaning this class is going to be no good? Absolutely not. That is not what I'm implying at all. If you've watched any of my draft content, whether it's in the build-up in the last sort of month or so, or as you followed mock drafts throughout, I am so pumped for this draft. I am so excited about what's going to happen, and they're pretty much except for Brisbane, there is no club that I am not excited about. And the only reason I'm not excited about Brisbane is because I know what they're going to do. They're going to take Levi, they're going to take Sam Marshall, they might take one more pick at the end. Cool, right? And whilst, yes, there could be movies that are maybe comfort movies to you, you know what's going to happen, you've seen them 1,000 times. That's kind of not what this is. So, Brisbane, you're kind of over there in that corner. Everyone else I have some interest in. Even a team like Collingwood, who there are still plenty of questions asked about what they could do. So, we love that. But here is my cautionary tale for casual fans. Now, when I say the term casual fans, the person that comes to mind is my older brother, Trent. Now, Trent loves his Hawks, as do I, as does my dad. Mum's a Collingwood supporter. We don't hold that against her, though. We love her. But whenever I say something like casual fan in my videos, I always kind of refer to him, right? He's a Hawthorn fan, does not really care about any other team, and will watch all the Hawks games, might ask me a couple of questions about the draft, but that's it, right? But even he knows now that this draft is going to be good. So if he knows, the majority of fans know this. Now, when any kind of casual fan, and there are lots of them out there, it's not just going to be him, but when there are lots of those out there, what is going to build is a sense of anticipation, but more importantly, and more cautiously, a sense of expectation that this group is going to have to explode really early. And when you think of the last time we were either told or is even spoken about in retrospect, the last super draft of 2018, there is an argument to be made that even now, 5-6 years into their careers, that draft looks more super on paper than it does in its totality. The evidence that we've got on-field versus off-field expectations, there's an argument to be made that expectation is still outweighing performance. That's 6 years in. And 6 years on from this draft, we're going to have Tassie here. So that's going to be interesting. Is someone going to try and exploit the free agency systems, and who is going to build their list the best before Tassie get here in order to top up from bad sides and elevate themselves towards more premierships? Of course, we look at the Hawks who did that throughout their 13, 14, 15 period of dominance with the likes of David Hale, Josh Gibson, Jack Gunston, these kind of players, amongst others, Brian Lake, of course. But what I want every fan to do is not rock up at round 4, 2025, whether it's me or anyone else, whether it's social media, and go, I was told this was going to be the best draft class since 2001. And look, there is going to be no better draft class than 2001, right? Let's throw that out the window a little bit. But what exactly makes a super draft is really interesting. Now, 01 again is just overpowered, right? It's nuts. Geelong and Hawthorn's hauls in that draft were amazing. Judd, incredible. Dane Swan was in that draft. Lee Montagna, Nick Dalsano, Jimmy Bartell, Stevie J, all of these players and so many more went in this draft, right? But then you look at other teams that have had really good draft hauls. I promise you I'm not making this a Hawthorn video, but you think of 2004, Roughhead, Lewis, Franklin, right? For the Hawks, not in that order, but work with me, right? Is the 2004 draft considered one of the best of all time? Maybe not. But when you look at the average games per draft class, two of them stand out in recent times that have absolutely zero references to being a super draft. And that's 2013 and 2016. And 2013 has names like these, some incredibly good names there, and 2016 has these names. Now, that's an abundance of good players, but at no point during those draft years, and at no point in retrospect, is anyone saying, how bloody good was the 2013 and 16 draft? That's just not really happening. Now, sure, we've had some bad draft classes over the years. Hello, 2020, if you are listening. But what I'm really worried about is that by the time we hit even the halfway point of next year, this group is going to be called busts, and there are some major reasons as to why that could be the case and why I want to preach patience. The first one is Richmond have got so many picks in this first round. Now, they could take all of them. They could do some deals, right? Let's say they pick all of them. They use 8 selections. They could. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't have any insider information on that. But let's say they do. And let's say, conservatively, 6 of them play round 1 next year. That would be amazing, first of all. But let's just say that, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, right? But you would think at the current rate of things, right? They have 4 of the top 11 picks at this point in time. Half of them have to play in round 1, surely, right? So, halfway through next year, 4 18-year-olds are going to be playing in the bottom-ranked team in the comp, probably. They're going to be fine. They're going to be young. They're going to make mistakes, right? They're probably not going to have the freedom of, say, a Harry Sheezel, a Nick Dacos, a Colby McKercher, this type of player, to go to a side. Now, Nick didn't go to a bad team, but of course Sheezel and McKercher did. Jump into a back pocket, jump onto a back flank, pick up the speed of the game, get a lot of footy, get your hands on the ball, use it as well as you can, and then we indoctrinate you into the midfield. We saw that with Sheezel this year. I hope that we get to see it from Colby next year and North draft Alexander Taru at pick 2, but we'll see how they go. I think Sid Draper is still definitely an option for North, but that's not really what I want to talk about in the video. So Richmond are going to have these guys. Now, again, I'm just throwing names out there, guys. If the part of your comment is, I don't think Richmond are going to take these guys, I think they're going to take these guys, then interject those players into this part of the conversation, right? But let's say they take Sam Lawler at 1. Let's say they take Jagger Smith at 6, somehow, but let's say they do, right? And then they might take Toby Travalia with their back-to-back picks. Let's just say it's those 4. Travalia is the only one in that scenario who is a defender, right? Who has shown the ability to find the footy, don't get me wrong, but you've taken now, Lawler will probably start on a half-forward flank, you would think, right? Whether Jagger is able to start in the midfield, we will wait and see, but these guys are going to come in, they're going to be around the fringe, they're going to struggle at the same time, and Richmond are going to struggle overall. Now, their experienced players may help them, but at halfway through the season, all Richmond fans will want to see is something. I actually don't think fans of their clubs are actually going to go over the top. I think you'd have to be a pretty stupid Richmond fan, to be honest, to go at round 8 next year and go, your draft class was a bust. I think that would be really premature and really dumb. But overall, the reason why us draft creators are so excited about this draft class is because of the talent that exists kind of beyond the top 12, right? There are going to be some gems in this draft, but again, keep in mind that not every gem works out, right? Mitch Lewis was a really good pick in the 70s that's injury prone. Nick Larkey was a pick in the 70s who's worked out brilliantly. Jimmy Warple was a late pick who won a best and fairest at the age of 21. I would argue had a career best year this year. He's Hawthorn's 3rd best midfielder. Right, so if you can get best 22 guys late in the draft, awesome. And there might be a better chance at doing that in this draft than others. Or you might even go down the Geelong path, who haggled Port Adelaide for a late pick and then took Lawson Humphreys. And that's worked out brilliantly. And then there are guys that are taken in the 50s and 60s you've never heard of. That is going to happen in this draft class as well. But I beg of you, no matter who your club drafts, come November 20th and 21st, as you are watching along live on Daz Talks Footy, you need to give it time, right? all of the tools in this draft will need time to develop. Jack and Matt Whitlock will need time in the gym. Jonty Fall, Harry Armstrong, Job Shanahan are going to need time getting used to the AFL. They are used to playing against 18-year-old defenders. Having Harris Andrews or Jack Payne or Sam Taylor or Jack Buckley, these kinds of guys standing next to you is wildly different than matching up on Harry O'Farrell and James Barrett, right? And the same thing for those defenders. You know, whoever drafts Harry O'Farrell, he may have to go from Jonty Fall playing against to, say, round 10 next year, and hello, you're playing Carlton. If Carlton don't draft him, you might have to play on a Harry Mackay or a Tom De Koning. Good luck in comparison. Now, I feel like the smalls are going to dominate this draft not only on draft night, or draft nights, but in general. Smaller players are adapting to the game much, much better than they have in previous seasons. So we are probably going to see some standout performers from the top of the draft class, right? Whether you are a believer in that top-end talent, or whether you're kind of like me and are thinking someone like a Xavier Lindsay could be drafted to a better club than perhaps may have drafted him 2 months ago, therefore he may get accelerated, may not have to do as much, therefore can go from there, right? Because you've kind of got one of two options as a smaller player. And let's use this rising star conversation this year. You've got either Harley Reid, which is just the standout, hopeful generational talent that probably wins the rising star if he doesn't get suspended. Or you've got Ollie Dempsey, who has much better players than him at Geelong. Therefore, he's probably not getting the attention that he may get in 2, 3, 4 years' time. He is free to play his own game, and he did fantastic work. Now, Sam Darcy, I am genuinely calling an outlier here, not only because of his experience on the list, but the way that he plays. Is there a Sam Darcy in this draft? Some of you might think Alexander Taru, as a taller player, may be able to have that influence, but in his first year, I'm simply saying no, not at all. I could be wrong on that, but I'm going with no. Therefore, is there a Harley Reid type talent in this draft? No, I don't think there is. I also do not believe that someone that either Richmond takes or at the top of this draft is going to be allowed to be the messiah of a midfield. Richmond have still got Taranto, Hopper to start with, right? North Melbourne, if they take Sid Draper, has still got LDU, Sheasel, Wardlaw, Tom Powell, these guys that Sid Draper is competing with. Like, these midfielders, even West Coast, you could argue with, I know they're down at 12, but you've still got to compete with Reid, with Yo, with Kelly. These guys aren't getting kicked out of the midfield. They still want Elijah Hewitt in there. So there's your core four. Good luck. As far as I'm concerned, Carlton, you're still competing with Cripps. You're still competing with Walsh. Still competing with Hewitt. Right? They've kept Jackson Binns there. They've still got Cooper Lord. Right? That's a lot of competition to go with. So by the time we hit the end of next year, we should be encouraged, but not disappointed, right? And I think the rising star winner this year won't be taken in the top 5, right? Which I know with Reid and Darcy, if they both weren't suspended, are going to be your 1 and 2 in whichever order that you like, were both top 5 picks. I struggle to believe that this year's rising star winner is in the top 5 of this draft. But that's just my opinion. But will it be a super draft? God, I hope so. Because who wants to see 18-year-olds fail? But as we hit draft time, let's have all of the enthusiasm in the world and keep our expectations tempered. Because I feel like, and I worry, that we are going to have some really absent-minded conversations in both the mainstream media and the independent footy media about this draft class when it isn't earned next year. That's my thoughts. What do you guys think about this draft? Do you want to make some predictions about the draft? Comment below, let me know. Who's your club going to take? Who do you think is going to be the best first-year player next year? I am so excited to find out. Comment below, let me know. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to join the Daz Talks Footy family. We are well over 4,100 now, guys. The family is growing. And if you're not too busy on the 20th and the 21st, the draft is happening, and instead of watching it on Fox Footy and all of those kinds of things, why don't you come join me in the live stream? You can get involved actively in the conversation. I think we spent about 14 minutes last year talking about the best fish for fish and chips. And if that's not the kind of draft conversations you want to have as clubs take way too long to decide on who they're taking, I don't know what to tell you. But it was a lot of fun last year. I hope you can join me this year. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys. There is another video coming that is going to be about 2 of this year's draftees and the intrigue that I think around not only their story, but their landing spots. So hopefully you're looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to speaking to you again, and I will see you in the next video.